How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be discussing with you 5 things that I wish I knew before I started lifting. So for those of you who don't know, I started working out roughly 4 years ago. And when I first started off, it's pretty safe to say that I had no idea what I was doing. So today we're going to be discussing 5 things that I wish I knew beforehand. Number 1, form is key. It is 2026, social media is a very big influence on our lives, and with that, it is very easy to get the wrong kind of idea about training technique. Now, over the past couple of years on social media, ego lifting has been very popularized. Now, this kind of training does clearly work for some people. It gave us some of the best bodybuilding physiques in human history. But the reality is that for most people, especially if you're a natural lifter, this won't work and will likely end up getting you injured. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I'm a 17-year-old who has never competed. These guys are some of the greatest bodybuilders to ever live. I have nothing but respect for them. I'm just saying, from a perspective of modern optimal training technique, it is best to lower the weight and focus on your form. I'm talking well-executed repetitions with slow negatives. I'd much rather see someone use a lighter weight that they can control properly than a heavier weight that they end up just swinging around. Using good technique will not only promote more muscle growth, it will also help prevent injury. When I look at pictures of my chest from a couple years ago, when I used to drop the weight down and bounce it right back off my chest, to now, where I slowly bring the weight down, pause for a moment on my chest before pushing back up, the difference is insane. Form will beat ego every time. Number 2, progressive overload. So what is progressive overload? Progressive overload, in simple terms, is gradually increasing the stress placed on your muscles, which forces them to adapt and grow, increasing in size and strength. Now, the question is, how do you do progressive overload? Well, here's an example. Say 1 week you squat 50 pounds for 6 repetitions. You have 3 options on what you can try to do next week. You can A, try to squat maybe 55 pounds or 60 pounds, add a little bit more weight, keep the form good, and try to hit that 6 rep mark again. You can B, take the same weight of 50 pounds and just try to do maybe 7 or 8 repetitions rather than your original 6. Or C, you can do the same weight, same repetitions, but control the negative more and improve your form if it isn't already good. Which one of these 3 you choose doesn't seem to be as important as long as you're doing one of them. If you choose one, say adding 5 or 10 pounds a week or adding a repetition a week or whatever you choose, you will gradually stress the muscle more, putting it under more challenge, more load, forcing it to grow and adapt. Number 3, not every session is going to be better. So following the fact that progressive overload is essential for growth, it is important to know not every week is there going to be a huge difference. Going back to the example of squatting 50 pounds. Say 1 week you squat 50 pounds for 6 reps. The next week you squat 55 pounds for 6 reps. Week after that, 60 pounds for 6 reps. But you may very well get to a point where you can't add 5 pounds next week. That's fine. That happens to everyone. And no, that does not mean you'll never ever be able to add more weight. That does not mean that at all. You see, your body constantly recovers from workouts. If you can't hit the same weight as last workout, sometimes it just needs to recover a little bit more, and that's fine. Maybe you didn't get as much sleep last night, maybe you didn't eat exactly the same things as last time, that's perfectly fine. Maybe you did. Even then, sometimes your strength or endurance can completely fluctuate. That is fine. Don't force yourself to do extra weight if it means your form is going to break down. Stick with it, and eventually your weight will go up again and you will be able to continue progressing. Number 4, more does not equal better. So this is something I personally struggled with a lot, especially in my first few years of lifting. I was convinced that the longer my workouts were, the more gains I'd make. That is incorrect. Straight up, no 2 ways to say it. So there's a term in the gym called junk volume. You see, muscle growth to set ratio kind of goes up a line. Say you're trying to grow your biceps and you do bicep curls. You do 1 set of bicep curls, your biceps are going to grow that much, for example. You do 2 sets, they're going to grow that much. 3 sets, that much. 4 sets, maybe that much, and it's going to get a little bit less each time. Eventually, if you get to a point where you're doing a ridiculous amount of sets, that will actually quite likely start going down. You see, once you've done the first few sets of a specific exercise, you've likely done enough for that exercise. You don't need to keep going. Even if saying the keeping of the going is going to cause a little bit more muscle growth, that doesn't necessarily mean it's worth it. Junk volume is the term used for those extra sets that either don't make you any extra gains or just not that much. Doing junk volume will likely just make you more fatigued and not actually provide much more stimulus. Personally, I never do more than 4 sets per exercise. Typically, I do about 2, 3, maybe 4. That is, of course, what works for me. Everyone works different. But overall, most people don't need to be doing more than maximum, I'd say, 5 sets per exercise. Typically, I wouldn't even recommend doing 5 sets per exercise. So find a good amount of sets that is efficient and works for you and stick with it. More does not mean better. Quality over quantity. And number 5, train hard, rest hard. Now, the underline of fitness training for good results is train hard. Very true, very effective, makes sense. But what a lot of people don't tell you is you also need to rest hard. For example, say you're a teenager and you're only getting 5 hours of sleep per night. You're staying up a little late on your phone or on the game or just hanging out with your friends. Whatever, you're having a good time. But if you are only getting 5 hours of sleep, you are likely not going to be recovering from your workouts, or at least not as well as you could be. And if you don't recover from your workouts, you're not going to get bigger and you're not going to get stronger. And that sucks. You see, for almost everyone, 8 hours of sleep is essential. Maybe 7 hours, but typically I'd recommend at least 8. You see, Mike Mentzer was actually famous for saying this. Your muscles don't grow in the gym, they grow when you rest. You stimulate growth in the gym, that growth actually happens afterwards when you're sleeping. Before you guys blow up with the comments all, but I don't want to go to sleep at a certain time. I don't want to have a bedtime. I'm not 5 years old. I get it. Having a bedtime is weird. But if you're serious about your fitness goals, you may have to figure out what your priority is. Hanging out on your phone or getting some rest. You get enough rest, you'll show up at the gym for your next session feeling refreshed, feeling stronger, and just overall feeling better. Alright gang, that is it. 5 things I wish I knew before I started working out. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that subscribe button. Have an amazing day. Peace out. Using good technique will not only promote more muscle growth. I look at pictures of my chest from when I used to. Isn't as important as the fact. Sorry.